scheduled. Okay.
It takes a second.
I had to think about it. It wasn't sure if it wanted to go live. Hello and welcome back to our final recap all along. Snark Squad all along, whatever we came up with last time. We're here once again to recap Agatha All Along, discuss the final 2 episodes. So I'm gonna let you take it away. What happened in episode 8?
A lot.
Yeah, it was a good one.
I just kept typing and I'm like, this is gonna be long.
Oh wow, I didn't even notice.
It was a lot.
Okay.
Oh wow, I just scrolled through this too. It is a lot.
Buckle up.
Here we go. Okay, we start. Alice is dead on the floor until a hand caresses her face and she stands up. And for a moment, I was like, yes! But she is no less dead, unfortunately.
Tragic.
Because it's Rio who is there telling her it's time to go. Alice looks back down on the floor and we see her dead body as we actually last saw her. So she's in her 80s sleepover wear, which is also a very tragic way to go.
What a rough ending. Really, I feel for her.
She's also like a smidge desiccated from being stripped of her power. Alice is understandably not too happy about being totally dead, especially because she feels like breaking her curse should have been the beginning of her story.
Yeah.
Rio points out that she is a protection witch, though, and she did die protecting someone. Not
cold technicality.
Yes,
cold I don't. Now is not the time to actually me about.
I'm super dead.
No.
Nothing she can do about being dead, though, so she has to go into the murky green fog that is death. We cut to Jen freaking out right after Lilia locked herself in the tower. And then we cut to Rio confronting Agatha. Rio says her coven is shrinking and she is providing bodies as promised, but Rio has figured out that she's also been distracting her from Billy. Rio calls Billy an abomination. He is disrupting the balance. Rio also thinks that she knows how Agatha feels about Billy, though Agatha tries to play it off like Billy means nothing to her. But Rio seems to know better. Rio says that no one in history has gotten special treatment the way Agatha has, though Agatha doesn't seem to think her treatment was special at all. She got nothing, and Rio took from her, which I feel like we will double back around to this special.
We'll revisit that. We'll
put a pin in this. We will come back to special treatment. Rio asks why Agatha lets people believe all those awful things about Nikki, and Agatha says it's because the truth is too awful. Back with Billy and Jen, they give us a little TLDR about Rio being death until they realize that Agatha isn't with them. Rio tells Agatha that what Billy wants to find his brother is also a violation. Tommy isn't out there, not yet anyways. So Billy already stole a second life, but Rio can't let him do the same for Tommy. She has to take him away. Agatha's like, whatever, fine, take him.
I don't want to have this fucking conversation anymore.
Yeah. But when Rio says nothing, when she starts looking pretty shifty, Agatha realizes that she can't take him. If Rio takes Billy, he'll just reincarnate himself and then he'll be lost to her. So Rio needs Billy to turn himself in. Agatha says that she'll bring Billy to the finish line and deliver him, but what she wants in return is for death to leave her alone, to stop pursuing her, to stop making her life hell. And when she does die, a long time from now, she doesn't want to see Rio's face. Rio looks hurt, but as she accepts, and she walks away and uses a knife to cut out an exit that like the woods all around them, it makes it look like the woods all around them is nothing but a set. She just like tears through it and then like exits out.
Very good.
Billy and Jen catch up to Agatha just in time for Agatha to overhear Billy say that Agatha will never be anything but a covenless witch. Agatha says it's time to finish the road, and she stomps off. She's being very dramatic about the fireworks and the dramatics about the big finish, and then she trips and falls. And she looks down and she tripped over the shoes they took off at the beginning of the road. The road was a circle, it has brought them back to the beginning. Agatha tests to see if she's gotten her powers back since they're at the end, but nope, nothing. So they're back to the start with nothing to show for it. Agatha yells at Billy for this, saying, like kind of like blaming him that they're here in this place. And she's like, "Fine, we'll just do it again." And Jen is like, "Hell no, I'm not doing the road
That's
again.
enough. I
I've had
off the
enough.
ride.
No more." Uh, uh,
Yeah, I know.
Okay, it'll come back.
It'll come back.
As long as you're there.
I'm here.
I love that you're like frozen.
I know. I was doing I want off the one hand over your mouth, one hand in the air.
Yeah.
Like on a roller coaster. That's how I got frozen. So anyway,
Billy keeps looking at the shoes and he says that they took him off out of respect for the road, but screw the road. And so he puts a shoe back on and we flash to black. It like putting the shoe back on triggered the next trial. A sliver of light appears and it's Billy unzipping himself out of a body bag. He's in a room full of morgue drawers. One opens and it's Agatha. A third drawer opens and Jen struggles out of her own body bag. Jen realizes that there are grow lights in the room on top of them, which must mean they are meant to grow something. The lights start ticking off like a countdown, so the trial has begun. Agatha says Jen is pretty quiet right now when usually she'd be freaking out. Jen says she's thinking about how to save them, and Agatha points out that she doesn't have any magic. Billy points out that she's already saved them a couple of times, so maybe she doesn't need magic. And Jen says if that's true, she wasted the last century of her life, and that doctor in Boston didn't take anything from her. When Agatha hears this, she looks mighty shifty. And Jen notices.
I'm gonna try to reset. You keep going. I'll be right back.
Jen notices and realizes that it was Agatha who bound her powers. It was nothing personal. Back then, she was binding powers for money. She says it was bind or burn. So Jen grabs Agatha and starts a ritual unbinding. Her powers return and she sobs with joy and relief. And then she disappears because her road is now complete. Agatha says her turn next. She wants what she came to the road for. She came here for power, and Billy has power, so he can juice her up. Billy says, no way is he going to give Agatha power so she can just take what she needs and bail, or worse, take all his power. Agatha says that she won't, but Billy calls her a liar. Agatha is like, fine, let's find your brother. She explains that Tommy is not out there in a body yet, but Billy can put him out there. So Agatha prods and guides until Billy recalls his last memory. We hear Wanda and Vision's voices. It was literally just a voice, and I was like, oh no. As they put Tommy and Billy to sleep on that last night. Billy says that he can hear Tommy's breathing, and then he starts breathing heavy. Agatha says that Billy is breathing for Tommy, that he holds it all inside of him, but that he can't keep him. Agatha puts her hands on Billy's head and starts asking where Tommy goes. Billy says he can't find a place, but Agatha pushes him until he sees flashes of a boy being drowned during a prank. Billy cries out that this is a bad place for Tommy to go, that there is no one there to love Tommy. Billy then asks if he's killing this boy so that Tommy can live. And then Billy disappears, his mission seemingly complete. Alone, Agatha answers Billy's question. No, she says, sometimes boys die. It was quite a heavy sequence. I was like, oh no,
when he's like freaking out too about how like this place, like this is a bad place, and she's like, yeah, it usually is.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Agatha is now alone. She takes off her pendant and she opens it, where inside is the lock of Nikki's hair. She also realizes that there's a little seedling in there, and she realizes what this trial is. It's the Green Witch trial, so out of death life. Agatha collects a tear on the seedling and plants it in the earth where the ground has split, and a flower grows just as time runs out. The room starts filling with dirt, and Agatha yells for the road to let her out because she did the thing. The door opens, and Agatha exits her own cellar, except this isn't over. Rio is waiting for her. Billy isn't here, which means Rio gets Agatha, who still doesn't have her power back. Rio attacks as the poor citizens of Westview watch as the sky does
Not
awful
again.
deathly things. They're like, we cannot keep doing this. Honey, call the realtor. Which
We
honestly,
gotta go. I feel like there has to be, though, at this point, there's like some sort of like Avengers FEMA. So they have to have gotten some sort of payout. If like the word on the street is that this was an Avengers training exercise gone wrong, the
yes,
citizens of Westview had to have received a really nice check to stick around in the first
yes.
place. You gotta like stay there for a certain amount of time.
They can't be out with Gen Pop after
Yeah,
having.
yes, yeah. So,
uh, Agatha, as she's being attacked by Rio, tries to create a protection circle. Rio calls her a coward, and Agatha remembers Lilia's last words to her, so she hits the deck and avoids being killed by a flying kitchen sink. Rio is savagely attacking Agatha. It's like pretty violent, but she's also asking, "Why don't you want me?" And it's like, girl,
girl, please.
hate bombing is just as bad as love bombing.
Yeah.
This is not the way.
She's like my serial killer girlfriend. I feel like she should be into this. She's clearly not, though. She's clearly telling you she's not
Clearly
into it.
not having a good time, Rio. Billy shows up and he's fully suited up and looking so cute. It's very good. And he tells Agatha not to take it all before he begins shooting his power into her for her to soak it up. She does soak up all the power until she's healed, and she even gets a costume change. It's very handy. Uh, Rio is like,
It's like the
great.
number one thing that has to happen.
Yeah. I'm like, yeah, give me that power. These clothes are awful. Rio's like, great, but still, one of you has to die. So they fight Rio a little bit, but Agatha knows this is futile. You can't fight death. Agatha says it should be her who goes with Rio, but when the time comes, Billy volunteers as tribute. Agatha is like, yeah, take him, which seems to surprise Billy, but like, boy, you just volunteered as tribute. Like,
Yeah. And also, like, come on.
Agatha's like, what
In
can I
his
say?
defense, he is really brand new.
He's very
brand new.
yeah,
He's brand
he is
new.
very branding. Agatha's like, what can I say? I'm a covenless witch. As she walks away, though, Billy appeals to her using his telepathy. He plays extra dirty too because he's like, remember your dead son? And that's really rough. He doesn't actually say that. He's like, is this how Nikki died? But it's like the same thing.
It's the same thing. And
it's-
honestly, fair at this point.
Fair. He's not that brand new. He knew how to play dirty. Agatha walks back and she kisses Rio, and that kills her. Her body falls and turns into flowers. Billy picks up her pendant and Rio tells him he can go. Billy walks out to his car while the neighbors all watch him, and it's like one hell of a walk of shame. Like
in his little costume.
As the neighbors are all watching him. It's really sad. Billy makes it back home to very worried parents. After a bath, he goes into his room and he sees a poster of Lorna Wu on his wall. On another shelf, Wizard of Oz figurines. He flashes back to Agatha telling him way back in episode 2 that the Witch's Road doesn't exist. More flashes. Billy saying the road is exactly how he pictured it, and Agatha telling him that it suits him. Agatha saying she didn't think Billy had it in him after Sharon's death. Agatha repeatedly telling him he's such a Maximoff. Billy finally realizes it was him. The road was all him. It was Billy all along. We hear Agatha cackle. Billy turns around and yelps, and the episode ends there.
And That brings us to episode 9, our finale. This will be much quicker because this is just, speed run of like character backstory stuff. So our finale, Maiden Mother Crone, basically speed runs Agatha's journey from maiden to mother to crone. So we start in 1750, where we're doing backstory, baby. Agatha is in the woods alone and like in labor, trying to find a place to deliver her baby. Unfortunately, before she delivers this baby, Rio appears, which means somebody's dying. She's not there to make out. Agatha cries that she will hate her
You never
forever.
know with death, though.
Right? You're like, is it bodies or smooches? I don't know. Unfortunately, Agatha does know it's definitely to take her baby. And she's like, I'm going to hate you forever if you do this. And Rio's like, it's my job. Like, I don't know.
I'm literally death.
I literally death. Like, I don't know what you thought was going to happen. But she's like, listen, the only thing I can do for you is give you time. And she disappears. And Agatha's like, how much time? Like, I feel like I want more information. She didn't get that more information. Rio was just gone. We then get a little montage of Agatha raising Nicholas Scratch and doing mass murder as a like survival strategy. The first witches that she murders are like very quickly after the baby is born, and they're trying to help her. They're trying to feed her. So either she's doing it to help buy more time by giving Rio fresh bodies, or she's just a serial killer.
Or both.
Or both. Who can say? Anyway, after having a fresh baby makes it so easy for her to trap the first coven whose power she steals, she eventually gets her little boy in on it with her, helping her lure witches into death traps. He seems to have a mostly very happy childhood until he starts developing a conscience and like not loving all of the murder, being like, Mom, why are we doing all this murder? And one day while he's like asking her this question, they eventually just end up singing a song instead of talking about all the murder.
I hate when a baby develops a conscience.
Just like, I don't like this. So anyway, the song, they start singing The Witch's Road. So back when Jen and Agatha were fighting about it, and Agatha's like, it was Coven 2, she really wanted to be like, citation, I'm the songwriter, bitch. So anyway, eventually Nicky decides that he does not want to help his mom do murders. And he's like up, and singing his little song to lure witches. And he tells a very obvious Mark that actually his mother needs him home, and he runs off. Agatha chases him back into the woods, and that night they go to sleep. And unfortunately, that is the night that Rio comes for him. Because it's her job and the time has run out. So while Agatha is like mid-morning for her son, that Mark from before finds her, and she heard the song that Nicky was singing and is like, that must mean that you know where the road is, and I am like desperate. I need something, so please take me to the road. And Agatha's like, oh yeah, the road for sure. We just need a coven, and then I'll totally take you there. This begins a montage of Agatha's centuries-long con, in which she assembles a coven to walk the road. The road fails to open while they're singing their little song. She like goads all the other witches into attacking her so that she can steal their powers. She is now a full-on serial killer. There is no stalling tactic. She's got a really dope theme song, though. The montage is great. Like the montage and like the costume changes. Anyway, the montage ends with the most recent time that she attempts to run this con, except, of course, this time Billy Maximoff is upstairs. So the road becomes real. And I rewatched the episode, or we watched the whole season after like finishing the 2 episodes and like going back to that moment and seeing it again, like knowing it's just what the fuck.
Because she starts to like goad them into like,
yes,
oh, you guys suck, don't you want to shoot me with your powers? And then here comes Billy like, gotta go the road.
No. Also, like, she made him stay upstairs too, which was a thing that in real time, like when we were watching that episode, I was like, I don't understand why he's not down there. Like, why is he upstairs and why is he not down there with them opening the road? And anyway, she didn't want to watch her new adopted son have him watch her do murders. In the present day, Billy now understanding it was him all along. He's having a lot of really big feelings about the people who are dead now. He's like, fuck, did I kill those people? And Agatha's like, well, yeah, you know, I mean, like, I definitely killed Alice. And really, if you do the math, like, I was gonna kill everybody, so you actually saved Jen. And we cut to Jen.
When you do the math,
when you think
remainder
about
one.
it, yeah. When you think about it, you actually saved a life in the grand scheme of things. I mean, none of them would have been there at all had he not demanded to be taken to the road. But Agatha leaves that out. She's like, well, you know. We cut to Jen emerging from the ground, like right by the "Welcome to Westview" sign, and she flies off, and she's off on her little adventure. So anyway, Agatha's like, you just got to get used to it. Like, murder is just part of being a witch. And Billy's like, no. In true Maximoff fashion, he has Agatha's little pendant, little locket. So he takes the locket and he goes back to Agatha's basement. And Agatha, as a ghost, appears there. I don't know if I specified that she was a ghost. We just heard her laughing at the end.
I literally just started thinking about this too. Like, did she mention she was a ghost?
Yeah, she's a ghost. Well, you know, she's a ghost. I mean, we heard her laughing at the end of yours. Yeah, so she's super transparent. You know,
super see-through.
No solidity to her.
Opacity.
So the opacity is way down on the Agatha layer of the scene. So anyway, back in her basement, Ghost Agatha is like, returning to the scene of the crime, which, like, really, you should not be taunting him. She doesn't know that yet. No. He's trying to banish her, basically, is the reason he returns to the spot, so that he can banish her with using the little locket. The locket is really the only reason that Agatha came to find him. She just wanted her shit back. Fair. And they have it out. I don't have a 2-page essay at this point. They bicker a bit, and eventually Billy decides that he feels bad for Agatha. She's been too humanized. He can't do it. And also, really, the reason he can't do it is because she admits that the reason she can't go, the reason she's adamant about staying a ghost, is she doesn't want to face her son. And that, just as Billy knew that it would get to her, that successfully gets to him. And he's like, damn, that's really sad. So, okay. And they agreed to team up and go find Tommy. And then they emerge. They leave her basement through a big light. They go towards the light to find Tommy, and that's the end.
The end. So much to talk about. We got a few comments as we were going through our very long synopsis.
Yeah. 20 minutes in. There was a lot. Okay.
There was a lot. 2 episodes. I would watch an office drama about Avengers FEMA.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, that is what not to relitigate Cap's friends, but that's like the thing that I kept wanting that to be, right? Like, I was so upset because they introduced so many interesting things about, like, the politics of the snap and, like, what all of that meant for real people. And then they just did so little with it. It was so wasted. Anyway, if S.H.I.E.L.D. had been around through that era, I feel like that would have been. They'd had a good time with that.
Yes.
Alas.
Billy All Along, such a great subtitle. I agree. I don't know if anybody, I'm sure like somebody else on the internet said that, but when
the thing that I specifically saw a lot of, because really the road was Agatha All Along, and that like high level, the road, like conceptually Agatha All Along, but then like you have a construction. Basically, this show did the WandaVision twists again. They threw the same 2 twists back on us,
and it worked. I didn't see it. It's not coincidence, in my opinion. She comes. This is about Rio coming to collect Nikki on the day that there was no murder. So, kind of giving credence to the like theory that Agatha was doing all of the murders to keep Rio away. And
I
when
mean,
her son,
presumably she'd been doing murders before and she kept doing murders after. So, like, to be clear, she also just likes doing murders, I guess. Like, I think Agatha liked doing murders,
yes,
but also she got really, truly in her murder era
yes,
for Nikki.
for Nikki. I mean, part of the reason that you wouldn't want to face your son is because you have to explain your murder era. And
Yeah.
I think a part of her knows that, like, oh, it was for you is not quite a sufficient explanation once your
No.
kid develops a conscience, you know?
Yes. I mean, you don't really know what's happened for him developmentally for the last couple centuries. Like, where is he at?
What happens when you walk into the green fog of death?
I don't, who can say?
Who can
But I
say?
understand her concern. I
Yeah.
understand her concern.
Billy got spooked by the Salem Seven. He created the road.
He's like,
Got-
I don't. I need somewhere to go. The road.
Murder math to the tune of Monster Mash.
Murder math.
It's a remainder of one. The murder math.
Incredible.
We're
Well,
now caught up on the comments, which
we're
means
caught up on the comments, which means it is time to do our starting question. Did you like it?
I did. I liked it a lot. We were watching it more or less the same time. Usually I was watching episodes after you, but I like would watch them Friday before we did this. But this past week, I was like, I can't wait. And I watched it like right on
I was like throwing. I watched.
And so we were just exclaiming at each other like, oh my God, this. So yes, I really very much enjoyed it. I think it was this whole season has had really interesting pacing.
Yeah.
It like throughout it for all of the episodes. And I think we see that with the final 2 episodes because 8 was like really a resolution of things. It was like the crescendo, and it felt that way in sort of like the pacing of the
Yes.
episode. And
I was
then
watching it
9,
like, how is there another episode after this?
yes,
I feel like
then,
it feels like we're
we
having
did it. It feels like we did it. And then like I feel like 9 was still very good and very necessary and like set up I think the next chapter well, but by comparison the pace of it was just much slower,
Yeah.
which is very interesting to end a season like, or I don't know where we go from here, season 2, other movies or whatever. It's Marvel, so who knows. But I think that I did enjoy both of them. I thought that was really interesting. I kept saying throughout all our lives that like my big enjoyment of the show kind of hinged on whether or not it stuck the landing. And I think that like, yes, that this like the story it told, all of my questions, all of my like uncertainties, like the thing that it actually did feels really satisfying. And I think that most of all, it is a show that will lend itself very well to what you've already done, which is rewatching. That's my theory, but you can confirm.
I can confirm. I liked it. I mean, I had a fucking blast watching it in real time, like not knowing. Again, you watched it because I was just sending you. I was like, for later, exclamation point. You'll know.
Don't worry.
You'll understand what exclamation points mean. I had a blast. I thought like there was a lot of really great stuff with the reveals. It lent itself really well to rewatching. I think, and like with something like this where you have a twist of this magnitude, it is really tricky. I think it works partially because Agatha doesn't, I mean, like Agatha knows more than everybody else, but she just doesn't 100% know what's going on.
No.
So there's a bunch of stuff throughout where you can you can see her sort of like, okay, maybe it's this. You can kind of see her like working the pieces out in her own head. I think that this generally stuck the landing. On the whole, yeah, I really like this. I loved the whole season. I loved these 2 episodes. I think that it left me with maybe 1 or 2 more questions than I would have liked.
Yes, sure.
But this is still definitely top 10 favorite MCU things, maybe top 5. I'd have to think about it for a second, but
yeah,
top 10 for sure.
There were also like a few things that I filed away for after rewatching to see if like they still left me thinking like, well, I don't know, that doesn't fully make sense, or like that's convenient. Certain
Yeah, yeah.
things that I don't know, I want to go back and just like reclock everything to see what those actual moments are and what those questions are. But yeah, I agree. I think that they're like sure, there are like loose ends and things that I would have loved to like heard talked about in so many words, or really
Mhm.
love to see come full circle. But for the most part, I think that like the core of this, my biggest question was, what story is this actually
Yes.
telling? And
Yes.
like, when we get to the end, will that feel like a complete story? And I do think like the core story was a complete story. And but like there are branches of things that I think could still be explored or answered or things like that.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, I think that like yeah, I am really very, very curious to see where this will go. I think that like that's true of a lot of the strongest MCU entries, as they feel like there's like a lot of setup. There's a lot of like what's happening here. I cannot help but keep doing the comparisons back to WandaVision though. Like WandaVision, though, I got to the end of that and I felt not just like a clarity about what story it was, but just like there was a clarity to the thematic, like the themes and like
Mm.
I don't know that I don't feel like exists like I could forgive it, so or I do I liked it a lot. I am less bothered by a lot of the big questions. I mean, like Miriam, I too wish we had more Rio and Agatha moments. Whatever, like I I don't care, like really. To me it's more which of those pieces, which of the absent pieces would make this feel more coherent. Like the thing that this was a really, really interesting mystery, like puzzle box. And
Yes.
it did that really, really well. It holds up as that in my one rewatch, like knowing where we're going. um and that's like the extent of my feelings about it.
Yeah. I think that it's like interesting, as I don't know, from the perspective of like how much of this is storytelling, like that kind of deal, writing and plotting, and how much is like a function of a story with a main character like Agatha.
Mm,
Whereas like with Wanda, her morality was gray, but her like the thing that she wanted was clear, and it was like
yeah.
very solid. Like we knew what she was trying to achieve,
Yes.
and that was very firm. I think that here you have a morally gray character, and like Agatha's motivations are very wishy-washy the entire
Yes.
time, and like till the last moment you're like, oh, she's gonna sacrifice herself for Billy, and then she was like, nah. And then she's like, okay, yeah, sure. Like, it's like very wishy-washy, like the
Yes.
entire time. And I think it's part of her character, or at least what she likes to portray to people. I don't know. It's the same question of like, doing it for her son or serial killer or both. That's Agatha. And so, like, I
Yes.
feel like you also get that sense in her story. It's like very, I don't know, very wishy washy in the sense of like not having that true motivation, like core of it. Like Billy
Yes.
wants things, but he is also in the dark about so much. Like there
He
isn't like
doesn't know that
no, he
much.
doesn't know.
One of the things Billy wants is to know things.
So yes, it feels like it's lacking. It's a little squishy in the middle for me in terms
Yeah.
of like, that thematic content and that cohesive storytelling, apart from just being like this puzzle box mystery.
Yeah. Yeah, but it is very, very fun and satisfying as the little puzzle box mystery. There are, so many like incredible things just visually, like fantastic to watch. Even the episode 8 where you have probably the most the like CG and like the least practical effects that we've had. Much also same deal with WandaVision too, actually, where you get to the big, your big superhero face off. You got to have more pew pew.
Sure.
But it didn't feel. That actually was one of the, I think, a like a criticism that a lot of people had about WandaVision, is that finale felt almost removed in that way, whereas this definitely felt like more tied tied back to everything we had seen up to that point.
Yeah. Miriam says, cynically, I think the series is a transitional show to introduce Wiccan, and the writers and actors were like, "Well, gosh darn you, if you're going to have fun watching it anyways."
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
I honestly, I think that this is a big sort of complaint that MCU haters have about the MCU is the way that it continues to like build upon itself. That it's like, I don't know, this like ever growing thing. And it
Sure.
is genuinely one of the things that brings me joy about the MCU.
Same. I get it. I get that that's not for everyone. I get it if that's not your jam, but I actually love that.
I'm like seasons deep into this lore and like that. Yes, I love it.
Love a new lore drop.
Yeah. So the idea that they're like, oh, transit whole season of TV show to transition or introduce and like love that. And honestly, that was one of the things that I loved most about this sort of like epilogue episode 9 was that it was very clearly like a setup for the next thing.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, and I kind of love that idea of just like they've got all of these characters and they got so much world and they've got so much story. This is like actually the thing that in talking about the MCU a couple years ago, they were like, oh, we wish they would like hone in on like smaller stories and like they built to such a crescendo where everything needed to be this like galaxy universe ending sort of big bad, but there were so many smaller stories to tell and they started doing
like
that.
Avengers FEMA office.
Yes. So like I really yes, I'm not mad about it either.
The prologue epilogue of it all kind of it's nowhere near as weird, but there is a slightly similar vibe to the season finale, the Buffy season 4 finale.
I literally was just gonna bring this up.
Where there's a lot of like, okay, we finished telling you that story.
Yes.
But we're not actually done here. And we're just gonna tease like what exactly it means for us to not be done here. If we could do so many more things, which is also why I don't in and of itself mind that I ended it with so many questions. Like that isn't inherently a problem. And I especially think I guess the bigger thing here is just that it's unclear what the next thing will be. So like if the situation were we were just going to keep doing Billy All Along is season 2, whatever, like whatever it is, I don't care, but like that sort of setup, like then this works. I think the problem with this being an introduction for Wiccan is that like it does wind up having implications for how this lands, I guess, is kind of to your point all along with previous episodes. We're like, I don't know if I'll like this, if I'm still gonna like this when we stick the landing. Is it to a certain degree defers that? I don't know. I mean, I think that this season works regardless, but like it defers that like satisfaction and resolution in a way that I don't know. It doesn't bother me, but it's like a criticism that I will accept as fair. You know, like if someone's like, I didn't like this because I wanted it to be more satisfying, which is a thing that I have seen a couple people talk about, like wanting it to be more, that they were expecting more of a contained story. Again, WandaVision, what you got to the end, and that was a completed story. This isn't. This is very clearly not. This story is not done.
But I think it goes back to that what you just said about like the thing I think that would help that is that if people knew what was coming next, because if you knew that this was season 1 of
Agatha All Along,
then you would be like, okay, but we don't know like how these TV shows are working. It's like one will have one season and one might have multiple seasons, so we don't know what the next thing is. Because I feel like if you're watching a season of a TV show that will have multiple seasons, when the like season finale ends on a cliffhanger, you're not upset in the same way that you would be if this is like the only season of the show you're getting, where you expect something a little more contained. So I think it's like
you weren't upset once upon a time. Now you are, because fucking everything gets canceled.
Sure.
We can do that. The Vision Quest. I'm really curious how, like, what whether my Vision Quest is gonna be a factor in all of this. I was more, I don't know, I'm anxious because Jack Schaefer had to step away. So she was originally supposed to be the showrunner of that as well, but she was like, I actually can't do both of these things. So that makes me feel like, I don't know. I don't like
I don't like it.
So I mean, yeah, whether or not we get, is that where they're going? I don't know. I just need it. Will Joe Locke be in Vision Quest? IMDb. If yes, great. Then I feel so much better. I actually just want you to tell me.
There's a like, I don't know. This is me also saying this. I have not kept up like 100% with like more recent Marvel things. Like I was 100% there, and then like recent releases I've been pretty spotty. It's been interesting to me, like this transitional era of the MCU where like the Avengers, that original crew, all kind of step back, and it felt like they were positioning us well to like transition over to second generations and like whatever. And that has just been going on for so long now.
Years. Yeah, I saw somebody online be like, by this point in time, by the time they're done introducing all the young Avengers, they're just the Avengers.
They have to retire too by the time we're done like with all the introductions. So like, I don't know. I do understand like why people are sort of fed up with the MCU at this point in terms of like, I don't know what it's doing right now. It also bothers me though, because it's like these things that are coming out are like the most diverse it's ever been.
Yeah, when people be like, oh, I'm sick of this, when it's all the like fucking diverse, and it's women and it's queer characters, and and now you're sick of it.
And people of color, and everybody's like, boo, like
Right.
original. And yeah, it's
Fine,
hard.
I guess. But I find it really fucking annoying. I do actually find it really annoying. Yeah.
I want to know how much it was originally just WandaVision, Vision Quest, and then they added Agatha All Along because Catherine Hahn was so incredible, beloved. Yes, I would love. That is my sense of what happens. Is that this was like, oh, everybody
a
loves
Loki situation, because
yes,
that was also like a character who they didn't originally intend to do nearly as much with, but people just loved Tom Hiddleston so much that they were like, shit,
okay.
here.
Yes.
I think about like at the end of the Dark World, that death where like really everybody on set was like, okay, bye now. It's been so fun working with you. Have a great career. And he too was like, okay,
thanks for having me.
Anyway.
The Agatha thing in terms of Agatha though, that's really funny, right? Because like, okay, she is Agatha, and then they were like, no more, and now she's a ghost. So really,
she's and an old ghost too, which is like the real, like Chris Evans. It got to a point where he was like, I can't be Steve Rogers. I can't be the man. Like at a certain point, I am aging. Like we talked about this a little bit when we were doing the Loki live streams too, where you're like, that man's aging. Like I don't like no time hasn't been unkind to him.
He looks great.
It's been a long time.
Time is happening.
Time is happening. Catherine Hahn is now a ghost who like aged in becoming she looks older as a ghost.
Yes.
I mean, it's hard to tell through the reduced opacity, but she can do this forever. Like they can trot her out forever. She has really truly signed herself up for, if she wants it, a paycheck, easy money for the rest of her life.
Unlike Patti LuPone, who said one season, that's it. Get me
out
of here.
I'm not watching a single Marvel thing. I don't care about any of this. I just heard that we were doing witches and for Disney money. So I said, yeah, sure.
Marvel has to stop having incredible actors play anti-heroes. Really, never.
Really,
Marvel is the home of when the villains have a point. So
it's
and the anti-heroes. So
that is something that we have talked about all the time. It's like our running. If we we're gonna bring MCU stuff back to the blog. We have like a short list of like MCU blog posts that we have like half drafted, and our definitive ranking of villains who had a point is one of those things. Patti LuPone said she'd come back for a Scarlet Witch movie, already knowing she's dead. Incredible.
She's such a troll. I love it.
I love her. I love it. I love it so much. Truly, truly incredible.
She learned one thing about the MCU, that Scarlet Witch is dead, and she's like, yeah, that one.
It's really beautiful stuff. Going back to these two episodes, somebody asked up above about when we think at what point did Agatha figure out that he was Billy. I feel like, so she says outright that what does she tell him when he asks her about it? She's like, I had a feeling because you and your mom have the same tell.
Yes.
But I didn't really know and for sure until the whatever. So like the vibe that I get is that she guessed, that she started guessing it when the road appeared, that was the real thing, where like the sigil thing was like weird. She's like, I don't know, whatever, could be magical for all manner of reasons. Don't 100% understand what's happening here. But the road opening was the moment of like, what the fuck? But I also think that like there are ways in which she, in rewatching it, I do genuinely get the vibe that she thinks maybe there could be some connection to Nikki up until the moment where Rio is like, you know that boy is not yours. And she's like, right. No, definitely.
I think that, okay, and if she's like laying pieces together and clues together, the sigil thing is obviously a moment where she's like, oh, like something is up. And this teen boy shows up at her house and breaks Wanda's curse. And like, so there has to be some math that she's mathing there in terms of like, what teen boys do I know that can break a Maximoff curse? You know, like I feel like that there are like enough early signs, and then there's a sigil. I do think that she probably doesn't have it all there yet, but I do, like you said, that there's like stuff that's like piling together, and I have a feeling also that her guesses, like her barometer was moving like ours are.
Yeah.
And it's like Nikki, Billy, Nikki, you know, like
secret third thing. Like, what is going on here?
He's like, I know two boys.
Yeah. And there is something, I don't know what the deal is with you, but there is something, like there's something going on here. I don't 100% know what it is. And like, I'm going to keep you close while I figure it out. I like, there's the moment where you mentioned it in your synopsis where after Sharon dies, that she's like, I didn't think you had it in you. Like, I don't think she fully understood what the road was, like what were the rules, what were the terms. So I think that's also part of like what's going back and forth in her head too, of like, I don't understand 100% where we are, what's going on here. Like, I imagine her
list of like who could make the road is like Wanda's kid, maybe my son. And that waffling is what Rio stopped. That is not your kid. I took your kid into the green fog death.
Fog death. And in that moment she's like, oh, okay, I know who this kid is. I know.
And then her waffling then becomes of like, okay, the road doesn't exist. I know this for a fact, but the road now exists. And so like that idea of like, how real is the road that exists? How real is the road? And like, how is it interacting with reality, right? You have to imagine that at some point she's like, okay, Wanda's kid. So is this like a hex situation? Like, you know, what are we dealing with? And the way that things keep showing up and she keeps being surprised at everything. She's like, okay, this next thing, right? So, you know, even as she's piecing things together, she doesn't have the clear full view
of what's going on. There's a bit in the first so it's the episode after Sharon's death. So after they have Jen's trial, they're standing outside the house for that. Everybody's like, okay, so we just do this and then we go home. And he's like, this would be so disappointing. But then the next episode, Sharon's dead, and she has her "I didn't think you had it in you," which like I think is also coming from a place of like I didn't think you had it in you to like do a full murder, to just like I don't know, like maybe trying to like pull information out of him.
Yes.
But then as they are about to go into Alice's trial, he's like, I actually want to go home. I wish we could go home. And she like gives him this look that's like, you know,
Bro. You started. I mean, you could wish us home.
That to me is like what I read the look as like, is he going to wish us home right now? Are we going home? But then they don't go home. And she's like, all right, well, I guess he doesn't wish it that much.
Yeah, Miriam answered her own question from weeks ago when we talked about the subway. We also had this moment while we were watching. We were like, the subway.
He hexed the subway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We talked a little bit. I mean, we've been all over the place because there was just so much here in terms of the episode. And we talked about like Wanda's journey. How do you feel about like Billy's journey? Apart from like the introduction to Wiccan, he also went like on an emotional journey of like, you know, finding himself in a new body, in a new family, seeking out Agatha, only to find that it was his doing all along. And you know, at the end, I think that moment of bringing Billy or of Tommy back. And it was only in like rewatching the episode that I kind of understood, or I don't know if I'm understanding or reading it, but like that final moment where he's like, where Agatha is leading him through like, where's Tommy? But then she kept saying like, you can't hold it all inside of you. Like you have to let him go. So it was almost like Tommy I don't know where like, yes. Unclear. She very clearly says like you can't hold him inside of you. Like you have to let him go. So I don't know. He's like Tommy's like piggyback, like his spirit's like piggybacking on like where Billy's and William is. Very complicated stuff that this boy has going on and whatnot. So anyways, that was all more statement than question. But any thoughts on like Billy's sort of journey and his story, his emotional arc, anything along those lines?
I'm really curious to see where it goes. I mean, like to me, I don't have a ton of thoughts because like that kind of goes back to what we were talking about in terms of like the weakness of this season is that so you have on the one hand Agatha, who is very wishy-washy as a character, that is like central to the character, is that she's like, is she good, is she bad, what are her motivations, what are her motivations, honestly.
Yes.
It's not super clear even at the end. Like I think even with like a Loki, the motivation was always clear. self-interest
Yes.
Like that's and like that made it gives you
tricks
at least
for God, you know, like
tricks, hijinks is and so there's like a guiding light there. That I mean Agatha's a little bit of that sort of like tricks and hijinks. I saw a thing on TikTok, like it was a clip of Jack Schaefer and Agatha and Catherine Hahn talking about how the nudity was added by Catherine Hahn, that she was reading the script, and in the script it was like, okay, you know, she wakes up and she's naked, and because, you know, she'd been peeling off the layers, and like they were gonna, you know, tastefully shoot that where like, you know, you get that she's naked, and then she throws on a robe and storms out to go like ask her how long she's been there or whatever. And Catherine Hahn is reading this and she calls Jack Schaefer up to be like, do we really think that this woman would actually care to grab a robe? So like there is some, you know, like I don't want to suggest that I don't feel like the character is clear. It's just like what she wants is what is not clear. Anyway, circling back to your question about Billy, like I think that I don't really have strong feelings about his journey, because his journey was just like, who am I?
Mm-hmm.
And like
and who am I and what I do?
and so like it very much is, it's an introduction. It is like, here's like the starting point, but there's no conclusion for Billy. Like this is simply like giving you the baseline answer to those questions of who this kid is and what he does, and now like what he's actually gonna do, that's in whatever comes next. So I don't know.
There's a like big sort of thematic thing. We were talking about like the themes, but again, I don't. It is a thematic thing with no sort of like answer. But it throughout the whole season of like good and evil, like bad, more than good and evil, I would say, is like bad, being bad, like a bad
Yeah.
person and bad behavior, and like whether or not there is like a sort of badness inherently tied to power, and like
Mhm.
the seeking of power. And Agatha stance is very clearly like, no, you'll see, like very much like life will show you, and like if you want power, like you will be bad too, up
Yeah.
until like the end where he's like, you're not so bad, and she's like, you're the only one who thinks so, only for her to then like be bad again and then not. So I think that again is like the introduction of a question here of like, can which is an interesting story for Wanda Maximoff's son to like take on and carry forward,
Yes.
about like, can you have good intentions and bad behavior, and how much power can you have before you become bad, and like all of those things.
Yeah. I mean, okay, so this is going back to like Agatha. I do feel like I have too many questions still about
Mm,
Agatha and like what her whole deal is. Because yeah, like how much power can you have before you become bad? But also, like they didn't really do anything with the Darkhold of it all. It's very clear in the Doctor Strange movie that like part of what happens with Wanda, it's yes, she's grieving, yes, she wants to find her sons, but she's corrupted by this book. This book is canonically so evil that
yeah.
using it like poisons you, and like there's really no discussion what's like, so like is that the thing? Why did her mom think she was like evil? Like what's like, I don't know, like there. And
Yes.
again, I'm fine with like one or two of these questions lingering, but I just feel like there are too many of them, again, especially when you have a central character whose motivations I don't fully get. Having a clearer sense of like, how how much of this is magic. Is she like magically evil? Is she just a shitty person? I don't like, that's fine, both of those things are fine. I don't, it's like harder for me to like read the
Yeah.
what's going on without those answers though.
I want to think that it is like I don't know. It to me it would just be so easy to clean some of that up too. That it makes me think like, why didn't they? Is there something there? Like I want to be hopeful that there
Yeah.
is like more to explore, because
This
it
is
would
you
be.
doing me and what's his name from Evan Peters.
Yeah, yeah.
There's
I am.
surely there's a reason for
No,
this.
but it would be so easy to clean it up in
Yes.
saying that she was like, her power is perceived as evil because she literally can take other
It's an
people's power, like
absorption.
that
Yeah.
being a whole thing, but that she became a like serial killer to protect her son, and like
Mhm.
drawing that clear line of like, before this is like maybe, things that were beyond her control are a little murky, after very actively killing people in order to like feed bodies and protect, and that's like a very clear delineation that they didn't do.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know, it would have been so easy to clean up her story in a way that like really tied it together, and so it makes me think like, why no,
I
why
know.
why not?
Surely not because you have some reason that you're gonna pick this up. It really is like wild to me though how much they mention the Darkhold in that
Yes.
first two episodes. In like before, once they get on the road, it does not come up ever again.
No.
But it's like a big part of the mystery that they make sure that we all know that Wanda destroyed all the copies of it. When Rio finds her, she's like, you're no longer wrapped up in all that Darkhold magic that kept you hidden from me. Um, and then we just never hear about it again.
Yeah.
Which
I
is weird
think
to me.
to Miriam's point that there might be like more in terms of like connecting um the Darkhold and Rio, and like
Yeah, yeah,
Agatha
yeah.
going after it to bring back her son. It leaves that also question mark of like Agatha and Rio, right? Because their relationship is also still very like, I mean,
Yeah.
you get the gist of it, right? These two like teamed up, and then
A
like,
serial killer and death.
right.
A tale
Yes.
as old as time.
Beautiful. And then, but then death came for Agatha or someone close to Agatha, and she was like, "Wait, me?"
Me,
And
no.
yeah.
Yeah.
We said we would circle back around to this, but I thought it was really interesting to have that moment where she was like, "I did not get special treatment," and in that like moment, I was like, I don't know, not on,
You
not
feel for her, like,
you
you feel
feel
in the way
for
that
her,
she
yes,
expresses it,
yes,
you feel for
because
her.
all you know at that moment is that death took her
The
son.
death
So
of
it's
her
like, yeah,
son.
what
I
could be
agree.
special about that?
Yeah,
She
yeah.
died, whatever. And then you see the next episode, and you're like,
Because I was like 10 minutes ahead of you, I messaged you immediately and I was like, I'd been mostly just sending you exclamation points, but I did have to like spoiler tag. I was like, listen, Rio was right. Um, this is
I mean,
special fucking treatment.
the thing, like, it is one of those things though that it like it is, you understand that, like, I don't know, that time, it is one of those things that if somebody had told you, like, in the middle of your grief, but you had time with him, that you'd be like, fuck you, like, like,
No, yeah.
I
I will fight you.
I
Yes.
will fight you. So to her, like, she can be like, giving me time is like, was no special treatment, but like, I don't know, on the other end of it, you're kind of like, he was
That's the
with
only
it.
that is the thing that
Yeah.
grieving people wish they had. Like
Yes.
that's the thing. Like
And
that
death gave it to you.
death gave it to you.
Yeah.
That is like any person in the midst of their grief, in
Yeah.
that precise moment where you are in, you get time. You got that boy was like what 7, 8 years.
Yes.
Jesus, the atrocities I would commit to get 7 or 8 years. I don't know, man. Like, I
Watch out, Kansas City, Missouri.
listen.
The hex is coming for you.
Oh,
uh,
shit.
but yes, they're still like, I don't know, question mark around. I did kind of, I liked their relationship though. I like the idea of uh death and a serial killer, the like back and forth between them, the hate bombing, like the like built in dysfunctional core of
Yeah,
like
yeah.
death, and being like, this is my job, like, I don't know, like the way that they're never going to be able to overcome that.
Yeah.
But the fact that death keeps coming around and being like, hey girl.
Hey, girl, I still love you. He
Yeah.
brings her flowers every time she brings her like every time that she like they like whatever she re-meets her. Death keeps bringing her flowers and then she turns her into flowers after she
Yes.
dies. I
Yes.
don't know, man. It's really interesting too, thinking about that in the context of this like latest phase of the MCU. I feel like the first few phases had a number of like love interests and like on paper romances, but like in this way where like none of those people fuck. You know what I mean? Where you're just like, I
Very
guess
sexless.
it's
Yes.
yes, right? And I feel like we've had a few now, like specifically on the TV shows. Wanda and Vision, they fuck. She-Hulk and Daredevil, and these two, like I feel like we're now getting a handful of like relationships where I'm like, yeah, I buy that. Like I buy that there's a real thing going on here, you
Yeah.
know?
Yes. Yes. Uh, man, we did have 2 episodes to
We had
cover.
2 episodes. We had a lot to go over, man.
What else?
Um,
What else haven't we talked about?
honestly, so much, but
Anything pressing that you must get out to
we
the
must
people?
discuss. I agree with Miriam that we do need more dysfunctional gay programming.
Yes,
That's
I thought,
correct.
I don't even really, I said, like, the worst takes that I've seen online were about like
The
their like,
barrier gays.
yes, oh my god. The best part was that I sent
Stop.
Nicole a joke like as soon as I saw that, and it was like, I don't know, I said something like, "Is it still bury your gays if your girlfriend is deaf?" And I was like, ha, ha, ha. And then I saw people actually talking
No,
about bury your gays
no,
online, and I was like,
no,
I can't do this.
no.
I cannot do this.
It's very yeah, like I need you to graduate beyond
Honestly, there are some like framings and things that help us understand, like, one of my contact is like genuinely freaking out.
Struggling over there.
There's some tropes and things that help us understand framing devices and whatnot, but truly, please graduate. There are better conversations to be had out there.
Yes. Yeah, it's like it's very like that Bechdel test, like things where
Yes.
you're like it's like good entry points, they're good
Yes.
like one level, but you cannot, but if you're using it as a cudgel, as like things are either good or bad because they do this or they don't do this, no.
Yes, Ghost Agatha and her wife, literal death.
Is actually metal as fuck. That's
yes,
that's the current take. It is actually the gay agenda.
And I'm sorry if you don't see that.
I'm sorry if you don't see that, but this is just how it is.
We also got a literal unburied gay in the beginning.
So, I mean, come on. Yeah. Anything else? Oh, the other thing that I've seen a lot of discourse about is like whether or not the hex is, or whether or not the road is real or a hex, and like what, like the parameters of that. To me, that falls under the category of like the ambiguity is like, that is definitely one of those things where the ambiguity is fine. I feel like very definitely it's real. Like it's not the same to me. I feel so strongly that it is not the same thing as the hex, because of the way in which like we saw Wanda like unwind that, like, but also whatever.
Yeah. I feel like it makes sense too for it to be different because Wanda and Billy are different and their powers are different, and it would make sense for them to have related sort of powers and not completely the same. We don't know how this interacts with Billy's like telepathy and Billy's like, I don't know, there's something to be said about his like weird reincarnation powers that he can like make this stuff happen, right? To what degree can Billy make things? There's like a creationism, I think, in his powers that might be different, I think, than what Wanda is functionally doing. So I don't think it's like full hex. We also see again to like the unbury your gay sort of thing. We see Jen literally coming out from underneath the ground when she escapes the road. So they were like literally under the ground.
Yes.
And I think that one of the interesting ways that like what practical effects did here is that, like you said, it made things tangible in a way that I think is actually meaningful to what Billy has done with the road. It like very like feel very real. That scene where she like cuts through like it's a set like that moment like also makes things feel very tangible and real in a way that I don't think is like fully people locked in their minds. I think that they're in a space and like Billy has done something.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, he can control reality, so he made the road real.
Yes, that's the one. All right, well,
now that I'm fully
scrolling
crying.
back through us, I was trying to scroll back through our stuff when we were watching it, but it's just a lot of screaming. Alice.
Yeah. Oh my god, Alice.
Oh my god.
OMG, here we go. That moment when he goes in the room and he like turns around and sees the Wizard of Oz characters, that's when I really started freaking the hell out.
Yeah. I just sent you like, oh my god, like I was like, what would this have been? And then I'm like, oh yeah, it was that.
That reveal that was like Billy all along was one of those other moments that I was like, oh, I felt like I should have known, like I should have seen this coming. That was like the thing. But like I wanted to figure it out. I wanted to rewind time.
I was trying so hard to figure it out for real, and and it was right there in front of me the whole time.
The
and
thing
I just
is that, like,
did not.
I actually was not sitting there trying to figure things out. Like that we said from the beginning, we're just gonna be real chill about like things. And so I wasn't like trying to piece things together. But once the show put it together for me, I was like, God damn it, I should have been the one.
We had so many like incorrect predictions. We're so wrong about so many things. But really great coming together there. The mystery, incredible, delightful. All of those reveals very satisfying. Can't wait to see. I can't wait for them to go find Tommy.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm stressed for him. He was being drowned by his friends.
He has no one to love him.
And he has no one to love him. Oh no. The witch's road was a con. That was the thing when I was watching it, rewatching it, like all of that, like Agatha's, like, yeah, it's a con. Like they said it repeatedly. Alice is like, this is a con. Like
Yes.
multiple people are like, this is a con.
Agatha
Like,
said
no.
outright, it doesn't exist. And he's like, you're lying. And she's like, am I? Like, and then like, we had that moment where there was that call out and like everybody watching me, like, Agatha doesn't know what's going on. Like if she was the only person to survive the road, she has clearly no idea
She
what's going on.
clearly has no fucking
She's
clue what's
never
going
been
on.
here. So like, there were so many moments that was like, yeah, the show told us.
She told us. We knew. We had already pieced together on our own that Agatha had not actually been down there before.
Yes. Little did we know it's because nobody had.
Because nobody had. And Agatha never once told us that she had. She did lie, and make up answers to questions about the road once it was on it and like once it was happening. But like even in like the larger con of like trying to recruit witches, Billy is the one selling the like, Agatha is the only witch to survive the road. Agatha's just like, yeah, I'm putting a coven together, getting a band together. That's her role in the con. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, this is really fun. That Agatha was largely the one giving out the prizes on the road, figuring out Alice's curse, finding Tommy. She was the one. I mean, Jen did her unbinding ritual, but it was Agatha who bound her. So like she needed to be present in order for that to happen. So yes, that like it was her con, and in the end, she had to sort of like there was a way that she had to make things right.
Yeah. Yes.
Big circle
Big
moment.
circle. Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
We do love a big circle. All right.
Great.
We did a whole season and it was mostly timely. We fiddled with some dates and times, but
it's a couple days. We're within a week of the finale.
So proud of us. Love these live shows. So happy that so many of you turned out to hang out with us week over week and leave comments on the YouTubes after the fact. We see those as well. So thank you so much for hanging out with us. And I'd love to say we'll see you in the next one, but who can say?
We can't make those promises. That's not a promise for now us to make.
But maybe.
Maybe.
But tune into the podcast, check out the website every once in a while. We're around.
We're really easy to find.
All right, friends. Thank you so much. And we will chat with you soon. Bye.
Bye.